All right, well, good morning. We're going to get started. It's 11:04, 17th of September. We've got a really great um, conversation here in our Tech Talk series that we want to go through, which is our customer service management and field service management. The goal of this conversation is to understand how ServiceNow can support enterprise readiness, enterprise experience for soldiers, civilians, end user customers, and other constituents. With me, I've got an all-star cast of folks. I'm Dan Coons. I'm the senior account executive with the Army. I'm part of a much broader team here. And our goal is to support the mission of the Army. And with me, I've got Casey Johnson. We work together quite a bit. Kevin Adler, who's part of our customer workflow solutions specialist. Then Dan Reinhardt. When we go through the conversation and each of them have a speaking part, they'll introduce themselves a little bit more, kind of tell them where they come from the business. But in the sake of time, and given that most of the folks that I see on here are familiar names, we're just going to start getting into the presentation. So if I can get this slide to start to move. There we go. So here's our agenda, and I'm going to go through the purpose again. But so ServiceNow Tech Talk series, it'll be a reminder to each of you that this is an ongoing cadence through October, every Thursday. CSM and FSM, Customer Service Management, Field Service Management, increasing enterprise readiness and delivering a modern experience to the soldier. How we increase enterprise readiness, the demonstration, then Q&A at the end. Here is our reminder of our series with a helpful link to get started again. If you've been here before, you've seen this, and if you're here now, you've definitely seen this. But this is our series, and it's a great reminder for everybody. All right, so here is the why slide that we go through in these conversations. And in the previous Tech Talks and a lot of the conversations we've had so far, we really looked inward as it relates to what ServiceNow can do for the enterprise. And what we mean by inwards, it's how do we get our internal systems working the way that they're supposed to? Now, I like to think about looking outwards and how do we create value, and how do we have something that, in the name of an anonymous leader that we didn't want to name that we spoke to recently, how do we get something that works? And I think we've all experienced, or at least seen the experience of having something in an enterprise environment that doesn't necessarily deliver the value that's either been prototyped or promised or PowerPointed. And one of the things that we like to pride ourselves on is the fact that our stuff works. And so what are the direct benefits of having a software that works and that supports the soldier, civilian, constituent, contractor, you name it? It's the increased enterprise readiness. It's the connection of multiple echelons together, which means the increasing efficiency. And it's a common platform that supports a joint information environment. And most succinctly, what that means is giving the soldier, family, and constituents the experience they expect. And as I read, like General McConville and some of the other luminaries within the Army's guidance over the next year to 3 years, it's really about the people orientation of the Army from an industrial to digital age, and connecting that experience to something that they get in their civilian lives. And that's really what we're here for today. And just to prove that we mean what we say, we are in the Army, across the Department of Defense, Marine, Air Force, intelligence community, the federal civilian, and elsewhere. So we are doing this at scale and across the DoD, IC, and federal civilian areas. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin Adler. We can go through his portion of the conversation to come back for Q&A at the end.
Dan, thank you. Can you hear me okay?
We can. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Kevin Adler. I work with Dan and Casey and Dan and the rest of the team here at ServiceNow, supporting public sector and specifically supporting the Army with modernizing the field readiness for field service and also customer service. And we'll walk through really what that is on today's focus, talking about modernizing the experience for the warfighter. Our focus really will talk about maintenance, repair, and operations, all of the things, all of the assets, the small, the large, the very large assets that the Army needs to do its job and to achieve its mission. And that can include, logistics readiness, so creating of a transparent and seamless experience for those responsible for setting up on-point hospitals or repairing, moving things from point A to point B, or repairing assets out in the field, and making sure that while you're setting up those hospitals or repairing those assets or moving those items from point A to point B, you have all of the tools that you need to be able to do the job correctly on the very, very first attempt. That also includes those who are responsible for heavy equipment maintenance. So making sure that the trucks, the buses, the cars, the vehicles, things that move, either in the sky or on the ground or even below the ground, have the correct parts available, inventory is managed, and have the correct technician who's managing putting those parts on those tools to make it mission readiness. And then also facilities, all of the buildings where normally we go to pick up gear or to clean gear or to turn in gear or to make facilities, to create or to deconstruct facilities. All of those pieces are important to track, and one of the benefits of ServiceNow is to be able to track at the task level. So all of the work required to pick up and make sure that the bricks are ready in the scenario and that their inventory is correct, and then the correct bricks, that's really where ServiceNow is uniquely positioned to help the Army. When Dan and I speak to different customers in the Army, we have a lot of customer questions. Some of them are like, how do we track all of the devices that are out there? How do we reduce the travel of technician time? How do we reduce the penalties for missed commitments? And how do we roll all of this up into a holistic dashboard that a senior officer would be able to double click and get information for? Are we doing what we promised we would do? Or if we need to move one field group from point A to point B, what's the best way to move that field group and all of their assets from point A to point B? So we do this actually through really good software, making it easy for those delivering the solution and also making it easy for those requesting the services. So from a break fix perspective, on the far left of the screen, we're able to capture all of those break fixes. Things happen, things go wonky, and you're able to create a work order to dispatch a technician either to go out in the field or to go to an asset. Could be as simple as an air conditioning. Every 6 months, you replace the filter in the building, or a lot more complex than that. We also support projects. Obviously, there's other tools of ServiceNow, and customers using project management have parts of those projects that require field work. So all of the mobile workforce can go out and do what they need to do for safety inspections. That's part of field service management. And monitoring and maintaining buildings, facilities, all of these tools that our soldiers and warfighters need to do their job. That's part of the value of service management from ServiceNow. And obviously scheduled work. I mentioned earlier the ability to schedule the air conditioning inspections and replacing their filters on a calendar. That's also part of field service management, so it's automatic or automated. And all of those work orders and tasks and all the scheduling required to make sure that the technician is there on the right time at the right day, and also that the technician has the right part in inventory, and managing those parts and those inventories, and then rolling that up to senior officials so those dashboards and reporting are available through the Now platform, so that you're supporting multiple groups. There are people who are requesting service, the people who are receiving service, and the people who are responsible for delivering the service, regardless of locality. Obviously, the Army is dispersed throughout the globe, so this tool set will work throughout the globe. And this tool set will incorporate the skills that so many of us have naturally or we've been trained for. So you're going to assign the right technician to focus on the right job out in the field. We talked about inventory management and also the ability to surface knowledge. So if there's unique requirements that someone might need to be able to extract while we're, as an example, replacing that air conditioner filter, or maybe there's a unique component with that air conditioner filter, that technician can extract knowledge from that technician's workspace and work site quickly and easily to focus on mission enablement and completing the mission. A unique differentiator that many of us on the phone who can hear my voice are familiar with is ServiceNow's enterprise workflows. So all of this work comes really out of our customer workflows scenario, and it will help the Army meet its service level agreements and also maintain and report time and cost for all of this. So the components, if we break this down, really it's the extension of value customers already are seeing or may be seeing from ServiceNow. So it's that single platform with one database, one architecture, and that seamless integration of workflows from the folks who are requesting it and from the folks who are delivering it. So the intake could come from customer service, it could come from projects that are planned or unplanned, and also it will support the proactive monitoring of those projects. Qualifications, you can obviously have restrictions for who can request work orders, and making sure that the work order is completely filled out, so all the information is there using some templates, so that then you can move forward with the mission readiness of qualifying and making sure that the right technician is dispatched to address that task and with the skill level needed. And when we talk about scheduling, actually, this is one of the most underutilized areas of the business, is making sure that we're able to get into the building and that the technician that is dispatched has the right credentials, has the right security clearances, and has the right tools in their technician belt or truck to deliver that schedule, deliver the service on schedule as needed. And if there are changes, obviously the routes are optimized to deliver the service from point A to point B, and that can be done on the fly or from a distance, from either shortest time or shortest distance for route optimization. And then for some customers in the Army, being able to work mobile and having that technician have the capability to extract or create or read or to consume work notes, and making sure that they check off different parts that have been deployed into that air conditioner repair, as that scenario I was mentioning earlier. And then if there's an end customer that the Army wants to capture feedback for the success of that experience, surveys and questionnaires are part of the tool set, and that can also go down to rolling up reports to senior leadership to show the success or the challenges that are in front of them for delivering exquisite care. When we talk also getting deeper into the installation of different assets, so all of the lifecycle management for these assets, and that could be inspecting, cleaning, verifying, and calibration, because again, we go down to the task level. There can be checkboxes for that inspector to make sure and certain that they are following the business logic, the business rules, or the security rules of replacing the tires, as an example in this photograph, or inspecting or deploying assets. And then servicing it. What about identifying which vehicles out there in the field have recalls on them, or maybe there's tires that have been attached to certain vehicles, and which subset of the vehicles in which garrison would then be impacted by that recall. All of that information is captured in ServiceNow for documenting, for reporting, and for taking advantage of the audit trails. And then also when that resource needs to be replaced. So how do you decommission it? And what are the requirements for getting rid of hazardous disposal or doing those safety inspections to ensure that that asset was decommissioned properly? All of those tasks are available and made available to the inspector to accomplish their goal correctly the first time. So before we get into the demo, it's nice to talk about the documentation management. Really, it's all of the services and the actions that support the immense amount of assets that are out there for the Army. So installation checklists, making sure that they're followed correctly, making sure that the installation was done correctly from a safety inspection perspective, and also those checklists that need to be done to prevent further issues. And that could be preventive maintenance or scheduled maintenance or unscheduled maintenance. And then also all of the repairs that need to be executed. So if you're replacing brakes on a truck chassis, what are the chairs, what are the safety performance that needs to be measured? And then of course, tracked back to the audit for any future review. So there's four specific areas that we're going to talk about today in the demonstration. Really, the areas that we'll be exploring really are installation and maintenance. So how do you plan to install assets? How do you maintain that? Secondly, we're going to talk about managing the assets once they're installed and delivered out to your customers in the field. And then we're going to look at the world famous DD3161, that form that many of us are familiar with, and how could we modernize that form so that there aren't any hiccups at the end when you're submitting it and you find out, oh, oops, I forgot something. So how do we make that an easier or frictionless experience for those using and managing those forms? And then finally, it comes down to resourcing and scheduling. I mentioned earlier the ability to look at a Gantt chart or a quick device and figure out immediately when your resources are ready to do the job. So with that, I'm going to transfer this over to Dan Reinhardt, who will be able to introduce himself and then present the demonstration. Dan?
Thank you very much, Kevin. Good morning, everyone. This is Dan Reinhardt. I'm a Principal Solutions Architect for Customer Service Management and Field Service Management here in Federal. And Kevin, if we go to the next slide, I thought that we would spend a quick second kind of introducing the high-level challenges that we're attempting to solve with CSM, Customer Service Management, and FSM, Field Service Management. So the traditional enterprise readiness challenges that we see is that whether I'm an action officer or a soldier or a civilian or a family member of a soldier, when I'm looking to initiate a unit of work, whether that is planning a fielding mission, whether that is reporting an issue with my barracks, whether that is registering for training and attempting to go to airborne school, all of these things are units of work. And the traditional challenge that we see is that without a consolidated system to manage those streams of work, I often have to know where to go to initiate that work. And then once that work is initiated, it might cross multiple systems of record, it might cross multiple departments, and really facilitating how those processes get executed to properly manage that work is a very important thing in terms of enterprise readiness. So how does ServiceNow fit into this diagram? If we move to the next slide and we think about what ServiceNow actually provides, the first thing that we provide to solve for this kind of messy middle of complexity, if you click again, Kevin, we'll see that we have a system of engagement. So we're talking about one consolidated place where we can allow folks to initiate work. Again, whether that is initiating a fielding mission, whether that is requesting training, whether that is reporting an issue in my barracks, we need a system of engagement to abstract the complexity of having to understand where I need to go to initiate different units of work. And underneath that, Kevin, as we click again, there's a system of action. So how do I take the work that has been requested and automate it? How do I manage the tasks and the processes associated with resolving that work? And if I start to introduce the concept of the demonstration in terms of this diagram, we were talking with PEO C3T, and they were explaining to us how their different PMs did fielding missions. So tactical radios, tactical networks, how do they initiate a mission? How do they then understand all of the assets or parts that need to be sent out with that field tech, the boots on the ground who are actually performing that installation? How do they coordinate and manage whether the unit receiving the equipment has been trained properly or is certified to use that equipment? How do they manage the asset lifecycle from assigning these assets to a mission, fielding those assets in terms of installation, and then how do they manage the troubleshooting and reporting that might happen in the field after they've done an installation? So if you think about the whole process of that particular demonstration scenario, we're leveraging a system of engagement to allow for mission initiation and planning. We're leveraging the system of action to automatically capture the assets associated with a particular type of fielding mission. We're automatically generating the DD3161 property book form. We are digitally attaching it to the case. We are automatically going out and getting digital signatures via DocuSign from the folks required to sign that form. And then we're creating a work order. We're creating work order tasks out in the field to actually install those assets. So an end-to-end process of creating a fielding event, a mission event, generating the assets, generating the DD3161, initiating the work out into the field. And that's the demonstration example that we're going to walk through right now. So let me go ahead and share my screen. And if you could let me know when you can see this portal here.
Yep.
Okay, excellent, thank you. So what we put together from a demonstration perspective is a self-service portal. And you can think about the self-service portal as a method of engagement. So regardless of what I am attempting to do, whether it is create a new fielding mission, report an issue with housing, request training, we can basically surface all of those entities in this self-service portal. And there's a number of capabilities in this portal that provide value. The first capability is the ability to surface searchable knowledge content within this portal. So if I drill into a particular piece of content, I'm looking for an answer on a question that I have, I can review content, I can rate content, and I can basically submit content for review. So this can provide informational capability to someone looking for information about a fielding mission or about parts or assets. It can also drive a level of deflection, meaning if I am taking specific types of units of work that could be deflected by answering somebody's question with knowledge before they submit a case, that provides a level of value. So within this self-service portal, there are a couple of other value propositions. I'm sure most of you are familiar with the concept of a service catalog. So what types of work can I initiate as Dan Reinhardt, who is authenticated into this portal? In this case, we were talking with PEO C3T, and they were very interested in managing their missions in this self-service portal. And there were a number of different missions that they could do within the different PMs. They could do a tactical radio installation. They could do a tactical network fielding event. They could do a number of different types of installation missions. So leveraging the self-service portal, I can get a holistic view of all of the missions that I currently have scheduled. And I can even create a new mission here in the self-service portal. And basically, they were just capturing a certain level of information like what unit or UIC am I going out to install equipment on, what type of installation is being done, what mission label can I give this, maybe a date field about the actual start date, and what PM is this operating under. So this might be a tactical network or a tactical radio installation. When I save this particular record, what ServiceNow is doing is executing workflow and executing logic. So based on the fact that this is a vehicle installation for tactical networks, the system has automatically figured out what assets I need, all 57 assets from a bill of materials perspective that I need to get ready and deploy. Whether I need to acquire those assets, whether I need to move those assets, how I want to manage those assets from a financial perspective. The purpose here is that we've automatically determined what assets are required for this particular installation type, and we've grouped them with this case. And as I actually go in and save this particular record again to refresh the screen, you can see the workflow has actually automatically generated an approval for this mission. And it has also generated 3 different service tasks. So if we think about what work needs to be managed and executed to perform this installation event in the field, I need to schedule the installation from a field service management perspective. I need to do asset provisioning or acquisition. I need to train the unit if they have not been trained on this particular equipment. So how do we manage the process of each of these different types of work that might be routed to various people? It might cross and span organizational silos or systems of record. But the whole point here is that leveraging this kind of case management approach, I can programmatically manage and relate all of the different tasks that need to be completed to perform this particular mission in the field. So if I drill back to the previous screen that I was on, what you'll see is that we've also generated the bill of materials and the assets associated with this particular installation. So as I drill into a list of all of the assets that are required, basically we can drill into one of these assets. We can see the item number, the state, the description, the barcode. We could even get into looking at the financials around when we procured this asset, what has happened to this asset since it's been acquired. But the whole concept here is that I can manage all of my inventory and all of my assets required for these fielding missions, and I can automatically associate them with these different mission requests. So another example of workflow, if I change this particular asset type to be in use and I save this record, we have a programmatic workflow that is executing behind this particular mission. And it's basically going and it's automatically capturing all of these assets. It is dynamically generating the DD3161 property book record with all of these assets, and it is routing it for digital signature. So if I go over to my email, what we'll see is that DocuSign has automatically sent me an email with the DD3161 form completed and ready for signature. So I'll scroll over to my email inbox here. You see I just got a new email, and as I click to review this particular document, I'm routed to DocuSign, and we can see that this DD3161 property book record form has automatically been filled in. It's referencing all of the relevant data from the case, and I can actually go ahead and digitally sign this particular DD3161 form. What we can do with that now, ServiceNow can go and programmatically grab that particular record. We can attach it back to this case, and we can route it for further signatures if they're required. So this was the front end experience around how I create a mission, how I automatically associate the assets and the bill of materials required for that mission, how I automatically generate the DD3161 property book form, how I digitally sign that. And then the follow-on question is, how do I actually execute a work event in the field from a field service management perspective to perform this installation where it needs to happen? But there's a couple of other value propositions that I wanted to go over in the self-service portal before we do that. One of the things that RMD was having challenges with is that all of the different PMs were leveraging different solutions to perform these missions. And the real challenge was a consolidated high-level view at the RMD level of what was happening from a PM perspective out in the field. So by leveraging this singular interface for planning and execution of missions, I can drill into RMD reporting, and I can get a real-time view of where all of my missions are happening, down to the individual base levels. Let's say Escondido, California has 16 missions happening. They could also get a real-time view of the open missions by unit or by PM. And they could even go in and categorize these in real time by what types of missions are being executed across these various PMs. So this concept of a real-time dashboard and report that provides insight and visibility into how these fielding missions are being executed, what assets are associated, being utilized, any kind of metrics around the timing, the KPIs, the key process indicators can be visualized and surfaced in this self-service portal. So that was the high-level concept around leveraging CSM and the self-service portal to be able to create these missions, automatically associate the assets, automatically generate the DD3161 forms, and then capture digital signatures from DocuSign. The second component of the demonstration was from a field perspective. As I'm dispatching folks out into the field to perform these missions, how do I provide them with a handheld device that lets me manage my mission events from a fielding perspective, lets me utilize my assets so I keep track of the asset lifecycle as I'm performing these installations? How do I leverage native device capabilities like geolocation or offline or a device camera to scan barcodes as I'm performing these installations out in the field? So for that, I'm going to switch over to my mobile device. And what we basically leveraged was the out-of-the-box field service management application that ServiceNow provides. So this is Kerry who's logged in, and Kerry is actually executing some of these installations out in the field. And you can see at the top, he has a list of his tasks that he needs to execute. Leveraging the native geolocation capabilities of my phone, I can get a real-time task map, so I can see where my particular tasks are and how I should best execute those. We can leverage some route optimization to optimize the travel times or the distance. We can manage all of the parts that are required for these different work order tasks. So as I drill into one of these particular work order tasks, you can see I have a location, I have a scheduled start time, I have a list of parts that are required for this installation, and I can accept this particular fielding event. And basically, we are capturing from a timing perspective all of the travel time that is required and all of the work time that was required for this particular event. That lets me do a level of reporting and get real-time insight and visibility into how long it is taking me to execute travel, how long it is taking me to execute work, so I can get some real-time reporting and metrics on that data. So as Carrie starts to travel and Carrie starts to work, basically the system is clocking those times in the back end. And as he's performing this installation, he can do a number of things. He can use parts out of his available inventory. So we might correlate this with the bill of materials that was associated with this particular installation. So I can utilize these parts. I can also do things like look at knowledge content. So if I want to understand how exactly I should be installing this particular piece of equipment, we can also expose knowledge content directly into this field service management application. So here's my schematic diagram for this particular part that I am installing. I can search this knowledge content, etc. Carrie can also engage with the community or can contact someone back in the PM office to get information. And he can do that from his mobile device in real time as he is working on this particular work order. From an inventory perspective, he can look at available parts. He has a real-time view of what parts he has in his inventory in his vehicle. And he can also do things like search for available parts across a different mileage radius. So if I'm looking for this particular encoder board, I'm looking for substitutes, the system, because we are tracking and managing all of the assets in the solution, can basically tell me where I can get these parts and how far away they might be from where I am currently. But as Carrie goes back and he's leveraged his parts, he's completed this installation, he can mark this particular fielding mission event as complete and hit done. And basically, this is automatically closing the work order and the work tasks that have been instantiated for him to execute. So if I go back to the actual parent level work object, I can again capture a digital signature from Carrie or from anybody in the unit who's confirming that this installation is complete. And basically the system out of the box is automatically generating a PDF that will contain all of the parts that I used, the time I spent. This could also attach the DD3161 property book record if I wanted the process to do that. So in the middle here, you can see this audit trail has automatically captured all of the actions that Carrie has taken, all of the parts that he's utilized, and has generated a summary at the end to actually complete the work. So a couple of other unique capabilities that we can leverage in this solution. Not only can we manage all of the work orders, we can manage the scheduling and the dispatch of these various work orders out into the field. We can also leverage the virtual agent. So if I drill back to this top screen and I launch the virtual agent, what are typical things that a person in the field might want to do? I might want to notify the person who is associated with my next work order that I'm on the way, so I can send an SMS message. And this goes out to the next unit that is receiving installation services. So this entire concept of being able to mobily manage my schedule, my parts, my inventory, my work orders, my tasks, and have an automated way of capturing how I am executing these events and how I'm leveraging the assets as they get installed in the field is a valuable component of the solution. The last concept that we discussed with PEOC3T was how do I enable the soldiers in the field who are leveraging this equipment to report issues from a maintenance perspective? How do I spin off recurring maintenance tasks and have them executed in the field? Like Kevin talked about, swapping out the filter on an HVAC system is something I need to do every 6 months. Maintaining these tactical radio and tactical network pieces of equipment is something that is a recurring task, and we could manage all of that with field service management as well. So that was the concept and the context of the demonstration, how to do that end-to-end fielding mission management, leveraging customer service management, as well as field service management. So I'll pause there for questions, and if not, Kevin, I'll flip it back to you for some wrap-up material.
Sure. Any questions from folks on the line? You can take yourself unmute, or you can use the chat function in Teams. All right, let me go back to the wrap-up slides. And if there are questions, feel free to interrupt and ask away, because we're here to address those questions. So Dan was able to eloquently talk through a lot of the scenarios we mentioned earlier on the slides with asset management, field service management, and all of the components that support delivering mission ready. Part of those, just to recap, is this end user portal that makes it simple for people requesting service to open up a case. They can search with natural language for any information that's available to them once they're logged in and verified through the system. It also provides support for those users who want to use a mobile device or a tablet to request those answers and request for that work to be executed. And what we've seen from a high level perspective is that once customers like the Army deploy capabilities like this from a self-service perspective, we see the amount of telephone calls dropping and cases are open. 65% of these cases are now open via a portal that's easy and intuitive to use for anyone without any training. So that's a nice thing to be able to offer customers. The other nice thing is the ability that when you're deploying a solution like this, you also want to connect it with reports that come out of the box. So the ServiceNow toolset that we walked around today allows users to report to their managers the success or the challenges that they are experiencing managing these cases, managing these requests, and delivering service to their end users. And so what that will do will be to allow the Army to focus on the areas of pain or the areas that are preventing mission readiness from happening sooner and quicker, and be able to redeploy services and personnel to address the cases that need to be deployed. And the other thing that I like to talk about is, as a customer of ServiceNow, one of the nice things that we offer customers with our software as a service model of software is 2 upgrades a year. And we have moved from Orlando, and now we are deploying and upgrading an available platform called Paris. And Paris includes a host of really cool features, some of which Dan showed earlier. But the nice thing is that Army can, or any of our customers, can decide for themselves when it makes best sense to upgrade to the next release. And if it doesn't make sense, then great, we'll support past releases. But the nice thing is, one of the things that I wanted to highlight in Paris is the ability for the Army to use field service to manage its subcontractors. So just like Dan showed, the technician was out in the field with their mobile device. Subcontractor management is also something that we can support now with our Paris release, and it's all pre-built and out of the box. And I just think it's really cool, and I wanted to articulate that on this today's session. The other thing that I wanted to articulate was some success stories that we've had with the Army. Dan mentioned one, but this is another one that we're very excited about. We're supporting Army Material Command with their global housing management solution. So what this means is, just as we showed you a portal earlier that was skinned for the Army Corps of Engineers, or Dan's talked about one for another group in the Army, this one is another solution that is going to be hopefully live. I think the goal is by the end of the calendar year. A self-service, really simple portal for family members and soldiers to request support for their on-base housing. So if they've got challenges around plumbing issues or broken windows or just black mold or anything that they need to have addressed and remedied, they're able to go on a mobile device or on a laptop or a tablet to a portal and without training, fire up a request for support. And that support request is then triaged through our enterprise workflows to dispatch the right technician at the right time to solve the issue in that soldier or family member's house. And as a result of this investment with field service management, Army Material Command will have a better standing in their annual report to Congress around how successful they are supporting families and soldiers in Army base housing around the globe. And the other nice thing I like to point out is, whenever we have an opportunity to support customers is fantastic. And whenever we have an opportunity to support customers with our cloud environment, that's even more exciting. So this solution will live in ServiceNow's government community cloud, which is an Impact Level 4 cloud-based environment. So that will allow mission owners to focus really on the mission, which is soldiers and the family members, and leave all the back office IT support and the infrastructure to ServiceNow. And the nice thing is that they can stand this up quickly and deploy it to their user community. So lastly, I wanted to open it up if there are any other questions from folks in the field or folks who can hear my voice. Please feel free to shout out. And I'm wondering, Casey or Dan Coons, do you have questions on your end that have been submitted?
Hey, this is Casey Johnson. No, but yeah, if you guys want to reach out, if anybody listening wants to reach out to learn more, or maybe schedule another session one-on-one, or if you can invite somebody, that'd be great. You can always reach out. Daniel Kuntz is the main point of contact, and his email is on this presentation. We'll send it out. It's just daniel.kunze, Kunze, at servicenow.com. There you go.
Thanks, Casey. No, Kevin, I don't have any additional questions or comments. I just think that this is a really, really great way to start to impact outside organizations and improve customer experience and constituent experience across the Army. And I think as we add additional capability and our ability to reach out into the mission and really impact and create efficiency there, it's just a really great story to tell. And I'm excited for the evolution of things to come. So no, thank you. And I think with that, unless anybody has any questions in the next 5 seconds, we're going to get going, and we appreciate everybody's time here. All right. Thank you for your time.